Alright guys, it never fails. Each November I have weird things happen. Sometimes they're pretty darn funny. At least after the fact. Oh, let's see. You know, like the time I had a reload bounce off a big 10-pointer shoulder. Should have been a chip shot. But he ran off, unhurt. I swore off reloads forever. I don't even use them anymore. I don't even consider them anymore. Yep. Every time I think of that buck, I do laugh, though. He cheated death 3 times before that, earning the nickname Rasputin. Lucky buck. Real lucky buck. Then there was a time I found a half of a 16-foot canoe out in the middle of the big woods. There was no bodies of water anywhere. There was no brooks, no nothing. It was just a half a canoe out in the middle of nothing. Yep, there was nothing anywhere near it. That was a little weird. 2023 was no exception. Plenty of weird stuff to go around. Now, on top of some really great tracks and encounters, I did have to contend with a few things, like a strange rut timing. It was just kind of off. It's the best way I can say it. It was just off. Undependable winds, as usual, swirling all over the place. And on and off tracking snow. We'd get snow, it would crust up, and then it would disappear. And it would do that continually. Early on in the rifle season, I was a day late and $1 short, it seemed, every time I went out. Now, these few hunts that we're going to present to you from this year have some great memorable moments. Not only that, they're both interesting, funny, and sometimes just plain weird.
Well, I got a text from Nick about an hour ago. He downed a great big one. I mean, a really nice buck. It's got split G2s, wide, just like what he wanted. That's pretty awesome. We'll put up a picture here of Nick and his buck.
Okay, I feel like I need to explain to you why I'm highlighting Nick's buck here. Me telling you about somebody shooting a big buck is not out of the ordinary. But Nick shooting a big buck? Now that's weird. Why? Because Nick has got the itchiest trigger finger of any human being I've ever met in my life. I joke with him all the time that he needs Gold Bond powder on his finger to keep that itchiness to a minimum. You see, now when I got the picture, I was shocked it had antlers. Never mind more than 4 points. He's never been bashful about filling his tags, dropping the hammer on whatever gets within range. I actually thought he might have been photoshopping me. Well, he's joined the big buck fraternity now. Now let's see if he remains there. Or if that itchy trigger finger gets the better of him.
Alright, we just left the saddle and we're moving along these benches here. Haven't found any fresh deer sign in here yet. But what I did find was something that's kind of interesting that I'd like to show you guys. Alright, so over here we have a big beech tree. On that beech tree, as I'm going up, you'll see all the claw marks going up this tree. Alright, see all those? Way up the tree. And it'll continue to go. Now when we look up here, you see all those bunches of leaves in that tree? It's all these bunches all the way up through like that. All the way up. It's pretty high up. What that is those are bear nests. What happens is the bear will climb that tree and get in the crotch of the tree, and then they pull all those branches in with all the leaves, and then they sleep there during the day. You'll get a bunch of them in there like that. So generally what happens with this stuff is a sow with cubs will go up that tree and get up there to keep her cubs safe. Sleep in that tree. Generally what I find is the boars are laying on the ground. You'll find a bear, a big bed. It'll look like a buck bed, but it'll be in a spot where you wouldn't expect a buck bed. And you'll also a lot of times find black hair and that stuff. But that is when you're in a big beach flat and you'll look and you'll see the tree covered with all the claw marks. And you'll see those nests up in the tree. That's just, it's a bear tree and those are bear nests. A lot of times people look up and think that they're squirrel nests, but they're not. That's where the bears pulled all those branches in and slept. So just something interesting in case you didn't know that. But when you see a beech tree with all the claw marks in it, look up and you'll see those bear nests in it. Alright, let's keep going and see if we can find some fresh sign here. I was just moving along this edge and I heard a deer moving. And then I heard him grunting. He's going into the wind, heading straight forward. We're behind him, I don't know exactly where, but he sounded like he was up in here a bit. We're gonna keep moving this way really slow and easy and watching this bottom. I don't know what kind of buck it is. All I know is I heard it. I heard the grunt. He grunted 3-4 times, heading out that way. So I think we're finally into something. Hopefully he's not cruising. He's just gonna go through here 100 miles an hour. But we'll see if we can catch up to him. All right, we've left that cut. Worked down in here into the woods. I came down on the first bench, and I heard a doe blow up way out. She didn't see me. That's a given. And the wind is coming out of the west, so she didn't smell me. So my interpretation is that buck caught up with those does, and she blew at him when he was coming in. So they're off in this direction here, probably, I don't know, 300 yards, I guess. So what I'm doing is I'm swinging out a little bit wide and dropping onto the flat down here. And then we're going to work our way towards where the deer are. Now the wind's coming out of the west, so I don't expect them to come this way. But with the chasing, you never know. So I'm going to work towards them and see if I can pick up a track. I believe the track's going to be down below me on this next bench. So we're going to get down in there and see if we can catch up to them. Alright, well, we got in here and we looked for the tracks and stuff, and the only tracks I'm finding in here are pretty small. There's one that looks like a cruising buck. It's trotting along, and it's small. It's less than a 150-pound deer. Now, I know I heard him grunting. It wasn't a deep grunt, but that doesn't really mean anything, because a lot of these bigger bucks that I've shot, when they're grunting, they sound like the young buck setting on your game call, on your grunt call. You don't hear those big, deep, guttural grunts like some of those calls that you buy that sound like something that weighs 400 pounds. Maybe they'd sound like that out in the Midwest, but out here they almost quack, like it sounds like a duck almost. So, at least the ones I've heard. Maybe people have heard deeper ones. I haven't. I've heard pretty high-pitched grunts. So, alright, we made it up over the top of the mountain and down on the other side. The wind's a lot better over this side. Bare ground track, the buck that's cruising. He's going right along. It's a big track. And he's heading in here. There's some does, some fresh doe tracks through here too. I could smell buck up on top of the hill, so this could be that one that I bumped into about an hour, 2 hours ago. They're heading in here. This is a big bedding area. This is the area I shot the Pearl Harbor Day buck. And they get up into this hemlock and they bed on the little knobs. If they're not there, they'll swing up and then they'll drop down into the other side. But if I do have to do that, the wind will be in my favor there. I couldn't approach that area from where I was because of the way the wind's wrapping around the side of the mountain. I had to come up all the way around and drop down. So it's about 1:15 right now. I started heading up over about noon time, I guess noon, 12:30. So we're up over, and then we got to get over here, work through this softwood, and just look at the sign to see which way they went. So let's go. Good morning. Wow. We're actually back on the same piece I hunted yesterday. I had planned to go to a different spot, But after last night, checking those game cards, I'd be foolish to go someplace else. They've come back in here, and they've been in here since the 13th. They seem to be hanging down in that far corner more. But there's some big rubs right up here, crossing the log landing. So I've got a beautiful west wind today, making it easy for me to hunt back into that direction. The hard part today is it was beautiful quiet yesterday. Frigid cold when I left last night, and guess what happened? All those wet leaves are now frozen, and it's really loud, so I gotta move super slow. Alright, this is one of the big grubs we got here. It's crossing this log landing. Another one behind me right there. They've crossed this log landing for years. I've get them coming through here at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. When they're cruising, they'll be over near this big field, and they'll cut across through here in the morning. Just a little bit of a staging area before they go out to the field, I think. So this is more than likely, this is going to be nighttime rub here, and then that'll be a daytime rub or morning rub going back in. We're cutting that way. Now, you'll notice I'm underneath a bunch of hemlock. When I'm still hunting, I like to stay undercover as much as I can, and on a morning like this, it's going to be a tad bit more quiet underneath the hemlocks because they hold the heat and stuff doesn't freeze as much, so it's going to be a little quieter. I got a theory that even if they hear you moving, they can't see you that good under there, so a lot of times they'll stop and wait and see what it is. A lot of guys like to walk in the logging road itself so they can see a long ways, but I tend to stay just on the edge so I can still see, but I'm kind of hidden too. Just all about concealment and movement. Covers your movement really well if you're underneath these hemlocks. I worry a lot less about sound and a lot more about movement. This morning I'm wearing my dry shots. They're a little warmer than my stocking boots, but I'm not as light on my feet in these. They're a little klutzy. Personally, I don't really like wearing rubber boots, but after yesterday, I thought it'd be prudent to wear a warmer pair of boots. And being that it's frosty this morning, I didn't want to get my boots all wet, so these will keep my feet dry. If I could find a pair of boots that were really kept me light on my feet but were really warm, I'd wear them, but it's a trade-off. You get either warmth or you get lightness of feet. Lightness of foot, I should say. bear's about 15 yards from me. It's right there. Little tiny thing. Yearling bear from last year, I think. It's standing right there. Just a tiny little. Yeah. Thing doesn't even weigh 100 pounds. I knew I heard something coming. I thought it was going to be a deer, but it's a little bear. It got my wind right there. It was sniffing. And then it stood there. And when it kept walking, it started sneaking off. Because it could smell me. Well, there's 2 coyotes down there. About 400 yards down. So for all of you saying I should have shot it, I got open sight 30-30. I'm not shooting 400 yards. So, coyote and the bears this morning. Things are moving around. They were heading down. The bear was heading back behind me. We're heading up that way. Hopefully the deer moving too. I was sitting back up at the top here. There's a crossing in a little opening in a cut. And I had a lot of pictures of deer coming up through here late morning, 9, 10, 11 o'clock. It's 11 now, so I decided I'd head down. There's trails over there. Go ahead and down, do that little gully. There's another one up a little higher, but right here in this rough stuff, I just found that big rub sitting there. Rossi's kind of giving it a little bit of a idea of size. Pretty nice rub. That rub is just up above me on this ledge. I'm just working down through here, and I just noticed I got fresh running tracks from today. Heading down in. Pretty big track. That's a good sign. I know I didn't jump anything because the wind's been in my face and I've been pretty hidden. And I never heard anything take off. Coming down, I would have heard it. Looks like we might have some rutting action going on here. So, maybe something going on down in this bottom. We'll get down in here and find out. Alright, I got down here to this bottom. It's like the top part of this draw. But it's between 2 pretty steep hills. And the wind isn't consistently coming out of the west like it was up higher. So I'll get a west wind and then it will cut back from the east, then from the south, and sometimes from the north, so it's swirling. It works best when you got a good consistent wind, which we had up higher. So I'm sitting here just trying to figure out what I want to do. They may have to backtrack back up the mountain. But it looks like by the sign, the deer are down in here. Alright. It's about 4:30 almost. So I'm going to start making my way out of here. I got about 20 minutes before it gets dark. I want to still hunt my way back that way. I still got to go through the big cut before it gets dark, so nothing's up here. I didn't think nothing would show the way the wind is, but the wind's in my favor for going out that way, so maybe we'll catch something crossing the lower part of that cut. So let's go. It's always a good sign first thing in the morning when you're down along these swamps and you're finding that. Anyways, today's the 21st. Yeah, it's the day I turn older. It's my birthday, so this is the last day of my vacation. So we're gonna get in here and look around. We've already got a giant sign. There's a big non-typical that's running the back side of this hill. We're gonna work up out of here and go up and see if we can run into him. Let's go. Well, odd strange of events. So, as I came out of the lower country back here, I came into a bunch of hardwood. Knelt down on a knee and was just scanning it, and I thought I could hear a chainsaw at first. Turned out to be a guy singing. Yep, singing. Sounded like Irish drinking songs to me, or some type of reel or something. And then it went away. So I made my way across there. It was about lunchtime, so I stopped. I ate my sandwich. I saw a doe come running through. She was up in the open beach. All of a sudden, great big buck coming right behind her. They're about 200, 300 yards out. So I got up, scarfed the rest of that sandwich down, put my gear back on, and started following them, trying to get closer. And I closed the gap to about 150. I almost took a shot, but wasn't quite the shot I wanted at 150 yards with open sights. So I decided I'd try to get a little closer. Well, they got out into a little bit more of an open spot, and up over the hill comes the guy that was singing. Well, he had a dog with him. The dog decided to go and see what the deer were doing. The deer took off at a high rate of speed, and they just came up in here into a posted cut on top of this hill. So that pretty much changes what I had planned to do. I was going to circle back down into that low country again. So now what I'm doing is I'm just going along the border of this cut to see if they came out. They were leaving pretty damn good tracks. He was heavy. Huge track. And big rack on him. Well, that does it for day 13. All over with. I could be still out there waiting, but my back is killing me, and I want to get home and put something on it. Not to mention, today is my birthday, and I have to go to dinner, so I got to be home reasonably early. Not my choice, but that's what the man's got to do when he's got family. Anyways, so what we have left is Thanksgiving, and then we have the weekends. I think I got 3 weekends left. So, it's 6 days, 7 days. We're going to have to choose our spots wisely. I may come back in here. There's a lot of buck sign in here, and there's still quite a few does. It's supposed to get snow tonight, so at least I'll be able to see tracks crossing. We'll see how that all goes. Snow, we'll see how it turns out. It may stay good, so we can get on something on Thanksgiving. If not, we'll see ya anyways on Thursday. Today is Tuesday, so we got a day to go back to work, feed some horses and have fun, and then hunt again on Thursday and work on Friday and back to it on the weekend. So next time I'll see you, we'll be back in the woods.